Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. So our next video is from Thomas Sowell and it says, Black culture keeps blacks down. This is why. Let's check it out.
The culture in which they grew up was not the culture in which black kids grew up in America today.
So they
There's
had,
no gangster rap that was pervasively available in Germany. I mean, the average of black kid today, I think, is probably better off, certainly materially, than say Ben Carson was when he was growing up.
Ben Carson, the famous
Black
surgeon at
neurosurgeon.
Johns Hopkins,
Right, right.
who is immensely accomplished in every way.
Yes.
Right.
I would say that certainly the black kids who are growing up today have a higher material standard of living than I had. The difference was that the schools were good when I came along. They were especially good in New York at that time, hard as that is to believe. But the kids who grew up in that same place where I lived, they will not get that same education. Now that can be blamed on somebody, but it has very little to do with what happened 100 or 200 years ago. And it's true in other countries. I mean, in Nigeria, for example, there's a tribe, the Igbos, who are living in one of the least fertile parts of Nigeria, who were in fact enslaved in centuries past by other tribes and so on. When the British moved in and set up schools, the Igbos went for the schools. By the time Nigeria became independent, the Igbos had climbed above the other groups that had been ahead of them to begin with. But there are all kinds of cross currents of factors, the particular culture, or the particular geography. You run through the whole list of them.
You cite, in Intellectuals and Race, you cite an observation by the intelligence expert, IQ scientist James Flynn, that just stopped me cold. After the Second World War, you've got large numbers of American troops remaining in Germany. For that matter, there's still several tens of thousands there today. And both black and white American soldiers had children with German women. And Flynn discovered that those children growing up in Germany showed no IQ differences at all. The black kids and the white kids, the same. Quoting Intellectuals and Race, Professor Flynn concluded that the reason was that the offspring of black soldiers in Germany, and now you're quoting Professor Flynn, grew up in a nation with no black subculture, close quote. Which means what? Which means they experienced exactly the same expectations. Is this
No, the expectations are external. The culture in which they grew up was not the culture in which black kids grew up in America today.
So they had...
There's no gangster rap that was pervasively available in Germany.
So here's what I'm getting. There is something
See,
about...
guys, the only reason why black people will be angry with this guy, the only reason why I see people will be annoyed with him, or people don't want to appreciate him, or people don't want to see his intellectuals, people don't want to see the wisdom Thomas Sowell carry, is because he is trying to make the black community take accountability instead of always blaming the whites. Yes, that's what Thomas Sowell is trying to do, and that's why the blacks are not even the black. That's why some people are hating on him. Some people don't want to even bring him to limelight. Some people don't even want to hear anything concerning Thomas Sowell. I'm telling you.
Handicapped to both.
All right. And so whose job is it to say, wrong subculture, folks, you're harming yourselves?
Well, I would think in an ideal world that intellectuals might take on that task, but the world that we live in, I've noticed, is not ideal.
All right. What is to be done? Take a look at President Lyndon Johnson speaking at Howard University in 1965.
Oh, yes.
But freedom is not enough. You do not wipe away the scars of centuries by saying now, you are free to go where you want and do as you desire and choose the leaders you please. You do not take a person who for years has been hobbled by chains and liberate him, bring him up to the starting line of a race, and then say, you are free to compete with all the others, and still justly believe that you have been completely fair.
It's pathetic. It's not a question of, there's no you who has the control to be completely fair or completely unfair. I mean, the circumstances are, so someone once criticized the mental tests on grounds that the tests were unfair. And I think it was David Reisman who said, the tests are not unfair. Life is unfair, and the tests are measuring the results. But who has control of life? Who has control of the past? Who has control of the culture that people have in the present, which they've inherited from the past?
So Lyndon Johnson, in fact, although good liberal that he was, at least in regard, Lyndon Johnson had a complicated career and changed positions on issues many times, but good liberal though he was at that moment, he was in fact engaging in a breathtaking arrogance.
Yes.
On two counts. One, that white people were the ones who were responsible for where black people stood in the race, that it was up to whites entirely. That blacks, as he described, I'm putting this to you, the black people are passive, they're acted upon.
That's right, that's right.
And then the second act of arrogance is the supposition that somehow the federal government could fix it.
Yes. It is staggering. But if you wanted to be charitable, you could say, well, he said this in 1965. But if you say, all right, why are people now repeating it in 2013 when we've had nearly half a century of experience to the contrary? And if you look within the black community, those blacks who had escaped what I call the black redneck culture, they've moved on. So, but it's the culture the different parts of the black community had. They were different.
Daniel Patrick Moynihan, in his famous 1965 report entitled "The Negro Family: The Case for National Action," close quote. Longish quotation, but it gets to something, I believe. Moynihan, the fundamental problem is that of family structure. The Negro family in the urban ghettos is crumbling. A middle class has managed to save itself, but for vast numbers of the unskilled and poorly educated, the fabric of conventional social relationships has all but disintegrated. So long as this situation persists, the cycle of poverty and disadvantage will continue to repeat itself. Close quote. When Moynihan wrote those words, the illegitimacy rate among African Americans was 25%. Today, the illegitimacy rate among white Americans is 36%. Among Hispanics, more than 50%, and among African Americans, more than 70%.
Yes.
Aside from throwing up your hands in despair, what is to be done?
The first thing to be done.
See, guys, there's someone's comment that got my attention. Let me read it out for you. And it says, I have been saying this for decades about black culture, which I actually call self-enslavement culture. Self-enslavement culture. And this is a fellow black. This is your black person. This is not even your white. Because if he's a white, I'll say maybe the guy is trying to be sounding racist, let me know. Hey, it's a black person saying this. So, watching how things in the black community and the community as a whole has regressed into ignorance. Having been a youth counselor and an educator for almost 30 years, I have watched the deterioration of the black community as it glorifies all of the unrighteous things over the righteous things, bringing to light how the music, behavior, ideas, and mindset of the people are harm bringer of the deaths of the black community. And every day it gets worse as more and more ignorance is pressed and allowed to run amok to the the detriment of so many. Kai, guys, this is not another person saying this. This is, as in this comment, it caught my attention. I was like, wow, because he is saying the truth now. He's saying the truth. You guys are bringing yourselves down. You guys are hitting on each other. Why? See, guys, it is time for those of you who are tired of all these things to stand up against all the ignorance and bring a change to your culture, your community, to yourselves again, and to make things better in the whole world and to your community at large. See, all this gangster music, part of a thing is not helping matters, because people are listening to it. Your people in your culture are listening to it. Even the children coming up, the teens coming up, they are listening to it. It doesn't elevate anything in your culture. It doesn't. Rather it elevates laziness, stubbornness, robbery, different things. Mention them. See, gangster rap is not just a musical. It's not just a music. It sends the message to kids, teenagers, like upcoming people. Easy money, careless life, no values, pure nihilation, nihilism. Which is not helping matters. See, you guys should go out. Don't just stay in your community or your environment. Go out of your community to learn, to socialize, to see things, to see people's view. Let it change the perspective of your life and everything. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Like, watch, and subscribe my channel, and have a wonderful day ahead. Bye bye.